Hi.
I'm Natalie.
I'm Kevin.
And we're from Grid Space. And we're here to talk to you about grit. Kevin, what do you think grit is?
I think grit is your ability to be uncomfortable or practicing something to deliberately get better at it.
Yeah, definitely. And grit is a really important thing in every field, especially in computer science, where you aren't necessarily ever hired because you know everything or because you're going to be able to do everything that you're asked to do right away, but also because you have the ability to learn and push through something that's difficult and challenging. When I was getting hired for a company once, or interviewing for a company, I didn't finish a coding challenge and I was upset at myself. And so after the interview, I emailed them and said, hey, I didn't put my best foot forward. This is actually how I would do it. And they really liked that I followed through. And even though my grit came a bit later, they appreciated that about me. And so the space of computer science has a great need for people with grit, not just people who know how to do something in particular, but who can who feel confident teaching themselves different things and knowing when to ask questions and knowing when to push themselves. That's kind of also a wisdom that comes with being gritty. It's knowing when do I need help and when do I have to force myself to do something that's really uncomfortable that I just don't know how to do at all. That's a really important skill as an engineer.
What do you think is more important bringing to the table, actual skills or the ability to learn new things? That's kind of a loaded question since we're talking about grit.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a point, you have to know skills to a point, obviously, right? Or else, you can't say I want to be an engineer and I work really hard, but not know what a for loop is or
but
something
I've never
like
done
that.
It before.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, that's just completely impractical. But there's definitely a point at which your ability to, the desire to want to learn something and how convinced you are that you can do what you set your mind to doing is more important than what you actually know. And I think that threshold differs based on the job, but I think for the most part it exists in every field. There's just a point where what you know isn't as important as how you learn and your willingness to learn and your willingness to be uncomfortable in whatever you're doing.
Do you think that so we're at Stanford currently? Do you think that Stanford do you think Stanford values that? Is that something you was imparted to you while you were here?
I don't know, because I didn't do my undergrad here. I came here for grad school, so I think that kind of grittiness was ingrained in me more from undergrad more than anything. But I think on a whole, yeah. I was a EE master's student, so I think especially in the EE department for sure, I did feel our professors really cared about how much we tried, and that was a really important factor in how they graded us. And even as a TA, that's something that we would consider is did this person try in office hours? Were they, busting their butt to do as well as they can? We'll bump them up if they do, So yeah. I think definitely from a professor perspective, some do and a lot do. But maybe not in the ways that are completely necessary in industry. But that's not exactly what school's for. That's something you have to choose to do. No one's gonna force you to be gritty and force you not to take the shortcuts, right, that you could take in school. You have to force yourself to do those things, to be gritty, to be resilient, and to put yourself in tough positions.
So how do you as a computer scientist cultivate grit?
With those around me. I think inspiring people to care about their work. I think if you care about your work, you're way more likely to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. And if I'm ever in a position where I'm teaching someone something, expressing a willingness or an openness that they don't have to know everything, and I just care that they try, will actually help a lot, right? Instead of having this, iron fist, like you have to know how to do this, and like I'm not going to help you, and kind of like being passive aggressive and like passing judgment if someone doesn't know how to do something, that can really affect a person's grit and like their self-confidence and their ability to figure things out. So what do you know about cultivating grit?
Most of what I know about grit is from a book called Grit, which I'll link.
Is it about grit?
It's about grit, and we'll put a link in the description. But one of the biggest things I think you can do to cultivate grit is to seek out, try to be okay with being outside your comfort zone, like not kind of pigeonholing yourself and saying, oh, well, I can't do that because of X or Y, like really telling yourself, like, I can learn a new skill.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that I'm capable of doing, but also, like, give yourself outs. Like, it's not just about torture.
Yeah.
Like, you have
Absolutely.
to, I think it's good to commit to something and to say, I'm going to try this new thing for X amount of time. And in the book, they say, don't quit on a bad day. So it's like trying something new, signing up for a course, getting through that course, and then telling yourself, I'll decide where I'll go after I reach this checkpoint, but really being committed to reach that checkpoint.
Yeah, that comes up in engineering all the time, because a lot of the times, like, I'm a newer engineer, and like, so I need mentorship, right? We all need mentorship, but I definitely need mentorship in my early stages of being a software engineer. A big part of that is like, how long does it take me to get frustrated, and kind of pushing that point further and further, because I'm not expected to know everything. And so like that point about don't quit on a bad day is like imperative to making progress in software engineering, because a lot of days are bad days. You got bugs every day, man, and you got to figure them out. And so like kind of maintaining that understanding of like things take work, and you have to push through a lot of difficulty, kind of makes it a lot easier when there is difficulty. You're like, oh, this was expected, you know, like it's not going to ruin my life type of thing.
Yeah, like expecting it.
Yeah, that's a really important thing to grow your grit, is like things are hard, and I'm not expecting them to be easy. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about solving tough problems.
Grit, it's important. In probably anything that you're doing.
Everything that you're doing.
Yeah, go be gritty, learn stuff.
Yeah, from Grit Space.
From Grit Space.